Hey people, how are you doing? Good morning. Welcome to another episode on Tips with me, Chef Mimi, my humble self. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have gone AWOL for a while, but I'm back. I'm not going anywhere again. I've just been busy, don't mind me. Okay, so today we're going to be discussing about something very important. Something people take cognizance of and something that people ignore. So we're going to be discussing salt. SALT, salt. Yes. We're going to be talking about its advantages, its disadvantages, and things that it contains. But first, let me ask you, what's your opinion about salt? Some people think they should totally cut it out of their diet. Some people think that they shouldn't cut it out of their diet. Some people eat salt raw. Some people lick it. Some people just add it to their food. Well, today we're going to be discussing all that. Salt. And apart from salt alone, we're going to be talking about our spices, seasoning cubes, the regular seasoning cubes that we use, what they contain, and the alternative. So if you're not using salt, if you're not using seasoning cubes, what should you use? So we're going to be discussing that and much more. But first and foremost, let's practicalize something. Our seasoning cubes contain a lot of salt already. So most of them are made from soybeans, sugar, salt, some sodium, some this, that. Some people combine a lot of things, some meat stock, and all. But the way people use salt and use seasoning cubes, I think. So, for example, for me, I don't use salt to cook. That's just the truth about it. I use it to wash vegetables, we use it to wash rice, to remove excess starch from stuff. But me putting salt in my food, I don't do that. Be it for 100 guests, 50 guests, 1 million guests, 1,000 guests, we do not cook with salt. I don't cook with salt. And this is the reason why I don't cook with salt. A lot of seasoning cube contain a lot of salt. Now, you know the different types of seasoning cubes we have in the market. Like, I won't call names, but some of them contain high level of salt, some of them contain low level of salt, some of them have a medium and an average balance of salt. So today I will be showing you the reason why I don't cook with salt and I only use seasoning cubes. Now, I use seasoning cubes and natural ingredients, things like ginger, garlic, onions, crayfish. Those things themselves are seasonings, right? So we'll get to that, but before then I want to show you a practical. Now this is seasoning cube, no particular brand. I'm going to be putting it in this dish. Let me just scoop 1 spoon, 2 spoons, right? You can see it. Then I'm going to take some water. This is water. And I'll pour into this and give it a stir. Now, you know all those ingredients, they say they put meat stock, crayfish, what's the name of those other things? Soybeans and all that. Now, this is it. You can see it has melted and has gone up. Now I'll leave it to settle a little. This is an empty dish. I will just turn this. Now this is just the seasoning coming out. All right. So now you can see this is the seasoning, and this is what we use to put the seasoning cube in. Right now, just look at this. Can you see this? This is salt, pure salt. In fact, let me just rinse it out a little more. Let me rinse it out a little more. Add it to this one. See, 1 See, this is salt, plain salt, nothing else. salt in just that one scoop of this thing. And remember, some of the salt has still melted and is in the seasoning, right? So these cubes contain a whole lot of salt. So that's why I don't use salt to cook, because it's like putting it twice, right? So I have this, look at the quantity of salt in that seasoning, and then I will now come and add like 2 tablespoons of salt or 2 teaspoons of salt. That is salt on top of salt, which is not good. Now, salt is a necessary mineral for your body. You need salt, a certain quantity of salt. Your body needs a certain quantity of salt, but too much of it is bad. Okay, so we have different kind of salt. I've heard people give salt different names. Himalayan salt, sea salt, black salt, pink salt, unicorn salt. In fact, there are different kind of salts. Those big ones, they say no, this one is better than that other one, blah 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 blah. Salt is salt. It is still salt. Give it any name, but it's salt. You have to be able to take it in the right proportion. I will advise people to stop eating seasoning cubes and salt raw. I see a lot of people take it, they sprinkle it on their food just to give it some flavor and all that. It's very wrong. Now, the effects of these things, you will not know now. It's a long-term thing. So if you have a history of high blood pressure in your family, you have to cut down on your salt intake. If you have diabetes, if you have like a history of all those things, you have to cut it down. Effects of salt. Salt can cause high blood pressure. It can cause diabetes. It can cause kidney failure. Why? Kidney failure, because your kidney has to process all these things. Everything that we take into our body goes to our kidney. Our kidney tries to process it and then distributes it to the right places. So by the time it's too much or too heavy on your kidney will not be able to process it. It begins to shut down. So that, then stroke. It causes stroke. Too much excess salt causes stroke. It also causes fluid retention. Now, for those of us that are trying to lose weight, if you eat a lot of salt, salt retains fluid in your body, so it affects your scale. So you're working out, and then you go on the scale and it doesn't reflect on the scale. Your body is retaining excess fluid because of the salt that you're consuming, so it's not going to reflect on that. Same thing for pregnant women. If you notice, in pregnancy, you find out that your legs are swelling and you have this oedema, the one that you press the skin and then your finger sinks into that part of your body. Yes, salt is the reason for that. So most times when you go to the hospital, the doctor tells you, reduce your intake of salt, put your legs up, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's what causes it. Salt is the reason for that retention of fluid in your body. So you have to cut it down. Now, how would you know that you're taking too much salt? You'll find out that you're thirsty all the time. Your throat is constantly parched. You have to drink a lot of water. At the same time, you find out that you're bloating. So for some odd reason, your body just doesn't want to go down. Like your stomach has excess air and space in it. You heat it and then it begins to make funny noises. And then temporary rise in blood pressure. It starts temporarily before it becomes a permanent thing. So you have to cut down your salt, cut down your intake of salt and all that. The ones, if you're still using seasoning cubes, the one in your seasoning cube is just adequate. Like I showed you. In fact, look at the salt is still inside though. It's still inside. See, it did not melt, it didn't go anywhere. While the fluid, the seasoning, this is the seasoning. In fact, the seasoning, see, there's still salt coming out on it, you know. So these are the things that you have to put into consideration when you're cooking. I've not used salt for a mighty long time. In any of our shops or any of our outings or something, my staff will tell you we have, in fact, I've never told them, okay, fine, salt has finished, seasoning has finished, pour salt inside the food. No, but we use it to wash our vegetables. We use it to wash our meat and all those things, because salt is very pungent. It helps to remove bacteria and excess starch from your food. So use it like that. and reduce the intake of salt. Okay, so what are the alternatives for salt? If you don't want to use seasoning cube, there are other people who actually don't use seasoning cubes too. So what do you use? The natural things. I actually don't subscribe to people using artificial stuff to cook. I prefer using the natural thing. So if you come to any place where I am, you'll find out that celery is growing in my pot, or maybe I have some garlic or something. So now, what do you alternate for it? You have garlic. Garlic is so good. If you need it to have some flavor, chop your garlic, fry it, and then leave it to dry. When it dries up, you'll find out that it has like very rich flavor, and it's a bit salty too. So you taste it. It has some seasoning. Lemon is really good. Lemon has some seasoning in it. Dried onions. What I do to onions is that I take the onions, I convert it into shallot. So to convert it to shallot, you cut it, you fry it, then you leave it to dry. Oh my god, the flavor of that thing is mind-blowing. Then ginger. I love ginger. Ginger can ginger you literally. So ginger, then crayfish. See, you guys underestimate crayfish. You see all these things, this thing, I'm sure they put loads of crayfish inside. It has flavor, and crayfish is a sea salt creature, so it has salt in it, it has seasoning in it, it's packed load with seasoning and spices. So crayfish, use crayfish. Mint, rosemary, nutmeg, basil, chili, celery. Oh, celery, you guys, if I start talking about celery now I won't finish, but celery gives you a lot. It's flavor, aromatic, it's just a lot. Use celery. Chives and spring onions are the same thing, just chives are smaller. Spring onion is fantastic. If you use it to cook your rice and your porridges and your soups, it changes the dimension of your food totally. Okay, so cutting it out can lead to low blood pressure. So if you cut out salt totally from your diet, it can lead to low blood pressure. So please don't cut it out. Reduce the intakes. For those of you who are cultists when it comes to salt, you must put salt in everything. The best thing for you to do is start reducing it gradually. Don't just totally cut it out. Stop the intake. Just reduce it from maybe 1 full spoon to half teaspoon. Small time, you just remove it and use only seasoning cubes and other things. Please cut. I'm not an advocate for all these other seasonings that have salt and spices and coloring. It is so bad for your kidney, you will not believe it. Some things that your kidney can't process, your body will take it in, but it never comes out because it's stuck in your kidney. Don't put so much pressure on your kidneys. Reduce your intake on salt and artificial spices and seasonings and all those things. Use the natural things. And yeah, that's it. So try these tips and let me know how it goes. Tell a friend, share, like, please leave a comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Don't cut out salt from your diet. Reduce the intake. If you cut it out totally, it can cause low blood pressure, and that is even worse than high blood pressure. So reduce the intake, take it gradually and in the right proportion. Talk to your doctor, go and see a dietitian, consult someone, to help you put it in the right perspective. But just do this and I'm sure it will help you. I need you to stay alive. I need you to live longer so that you can patronize Dine and Pack and buy food and celebrate a lot of birthdays that we will come and cater for. So don't die on me. Just reduce your salt intake. Bye and have a fantastic day ahead. I love you guys.